Hello, everybody. This is Stop the BS Auditors, bringing you another one. This is out of South Carolina Auditors, I think they are called. It's a whole gaggle of them, um, trying to weasel their way into a South Carolina National Guard Armory. So we're going to break this down, and I am fair and impartial to all parties involved. I fully support the Constitution and your rights as dictated under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. However, there is a time and place for things, and these people don't seem to understand rules. So let's get started, shall we?
Are we allowed to walk in the lobby, take pictures of anything you might have on the wall or anything? No.
Okay, first question. Am I allowed to go into the lobby? It's not public access. Armories are secured because there's weapons and other military equipment in there. You can't just walk into a National Guard armory. The only exception to that would be if it was a recruiting armory where you had an appointment with a recruiter or you were setting up a time to recruit into a National Guard armory. But obviously, based on what I'm seeing here, where every person entering this armory has a key to get in the front door, it's not public access or public property. Okay, so obviously the gentleman in the shorts there that just asked for identification is part of the military, National Guard. He could be what's called full-time guard or active guard. To enter military installations, and National Guard Armory is one of them, you have to have an ID card. You cannot get onto any post currently in the United States without submitting a form of ID. Plain and simple. If you want to enter a military facility, you need ID.
Why would we need that?
No, sir, it's just, we would appreciate if you could show some good. Well, we have no ill will. We just have, we're taking pictures.
Okay, so again, if you saw my first video, let's talk about this. I have no ill will. Anybody can say whatever they want, and that doesn't mean they're telling the truth or they don't have alternative motives, okay? Let's go to the drastic side of it. The pilots that took over the flights of 9/11, they didn't go to flight school saying, I'm going to learn how to fly a plane so I can crash into a building. I'm just learning how to fly. They're not going to tell you their true intentions. Just like these quote-unquote auditors don't tell you their true intention. They're going to say, well, we're here to educate or we're doing a news story. And not any of that is true. All they're trying to do is provoke reactions so they can get likes and subscriptions for their YouTube channel.
Everything, all the government buildings around and everything. Okay. You guys protect the Constitution, right? So,
Yeah, I don't understand the ID.
Right? That's crazy. Yeah, why would he need my ID?
Again, you need an identification card to enter a military facility. The only exception that I'm aware of at this point in time for military facility ID requirements is if it was a recruiting station, like in an office building or something where you're going to see a recruiter. An actual military installation at any time, they can request, and you are to provide identification. If you do not gain entry.
Well, basically, with everything in light of everything's happened nowadays.
This day and age.
Yeah,
In this day and age.
Yeah, don't forget this day and
I'm
age.
sure you guys seen the television lately, and people, even though they say they have ill, they come out.
I don't think we would be filming if we had ill
I
intentions,
understand that, but we just basically,
Yeah. But my ID ain't gonna tell you what my intentions are. That's the thing.
You're right. The ID does not tell you intentions, but it identifies you in case there's a security breach. Okay, again, these are military facilities, whether it's state National Guard or federal active duty. It is a military facility. They're all subject to the UCMJ, that's the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Those are the laws that dictate the military. And security issues come down from the command of the National Guard, which is out of Washington, D.C., to the state level, and then state level takes it down. Any secured facility, and it looks like this is the 2nd Battalion of the 176th Field Artillery, if I'm reading the floor mat there where that gentleman's standing, is a military facility. There are weapons in this facility. Even active duty cannot carry weapons into a military facility. These guys obviously have cameras, They want to film the outside of the building, they can film on the outside of the building. Nothing you can do about that. But you cannot enter the building. And if you cause a disturbance, they do have a right to ask you to leave. If you were just standing there quietly and,
You know what I mean? I mean, well, you know my name. How's that going to help you to figure out my intentions, right? I mean, think about that.
How's the plastic?
Yeah.
Is the plastic going to transport you into my thoughts? No, we have no bad intentions, dude. We're just filming. Is that a publicly accessible area right there? Or no.
Yeah, it is a public accessible area, especially if you see some of that content. We will. All right. Gonna ask that check. You did one. I know he actually went in and can let me go in here. I was actually on a phone call, so I just wanted to come and check it. I didn't know if you guys were UPS, and I'll come to pick up a pack on. If you give me a few seconds here, I'll be right back.
No problem. Are we allowed to walk in here?
Not out of the moment, but I'll be right back.
But did you say it's publicly accessible?
it's not. Do you see the gentleman taking out a key to get into the door? If it was publicly accessible for non-military business, the guy in the white shirt would have a key, the older guy in the shorts would have a key, the other gentleman would have a key, or it would be unlocked. It's a secure facility.
It is publicly accessible, but I need that station line because right now I'm the only one here on this end of the hall. So I got a phone call. I'll be more than happy to come back and actually talk to you guys.
Oh,
just let me get this phone call.
All right.
I was actually engaged. Like I said, I thought you were UPS.
Who's the
Drop
unit
off some
commander,
package.
Sergeant?
The unit commander?
Yes.
Is Captain Stevens, of course.
And who's the POC?
Point. I mean, as far as the facility here,
Who will be in charge of the building security, unit security?
That's my Renacencio, Sergeant Flesh Cousin Elliot. He's actually not here at the moment. Dude, just let me get his phone.
All right, no problem. We'll wait. Like I said, we'll be just out here taking photographs. If you can let us in, we'd like to take some pictures, so we'll wait right here for you. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Wow.
I know for sure, guys, for myself, being that I was a National Guardsman, that this is a state-owned building. This is a state property, so we have every right to be here.
Oh yeah. I've been.
I like how he says, well, I was a National Guardsman, this is a state-owned building. Yes, it's state-owned, but a lot of the money comes from federal funds and state budget. But they still have to follow federal guidelines for military. Again, you can film the outside. If they say you can't go in, you can't go in. It's a security issue.
Into a few.
They don't want us to Armory, Georgetown, South Carolina.
Hey Joe, I'm sorry.
No problem.
If you can't provide any identification or tell me your purpose for being there, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the property.
Would that be like a request or a demand?
Yes. That's a request. I ask that you leave the property, okay?
But I mean,
what's the reasoning?
Because it's just necessity.
are you a police officer?
You know, well, do you know what we're doing?
Huh?
You know what we're
You're
doing?
videotaping us.
It's a constitutionally protected.
That's what we
activity.
do. That's our job.
It's what we do. It's our job. All right. Again, one of the things these people do is, they try to provoke reactions. And again, First Amendment says freedom of press. Governments should not infringe on the freedom of expression, speech, religion, and freedom of the press. If they were there for a legitimate story, and right now the courts are determining what's legitimate and what's not. As long as they're not creating an issue. Now, people will say that maybe the National Guardsmen started it. Okay, I can see that point of view. But in this case, the military, and I'm assuming, like I said, this gentleman here in the shorts with his haircut, he looks like he's military, can demand upon your, trying to gain entry into a National Guard armory or any military facility, identification. You don't provide it, you don't get in. It's plain and simple, guys. Plain and simple. Is it a law? It's a military regulation, and within the buildings, a military regulation under the Uniform Code of Military Justice can prevail.
We're just filming, dude. We have no bad intentions. We just want to take pictures of the facility.
And our ID wouldn't have gave you no different than that. So, wow. Now they probably gonna put PD.
He wants ID.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
He missed their
He
ID.
wanted to feel like he was in control, but that's all that was, man.
Oh yeah.
It's a power trip.
Well, he said we're gonna ask you to leave. There's a difference between asking
Right,
somebody to leave
yeah.
and demanding somebody to leave.
And especially when you don't have the authority to
So you can hear them trying to justify semantics and language. I guess in a court of law, that's what it is. So obviously the officer cannot stop the cameraman from filming. It is a publicly protected
public
thing.
access.
You can't take pictures of it. It's a secure facility.
Everybody else is back here.
Why are you videoing though?
They said it was public access.
That doesn't mean you can video. I mean, why are you videoing?
Come talk to these guys
But
back
why,
here.
why can't you tell me why you're videoing it?
Oh, just because we want to see
I
how
thought she was
the
gonna
money's
take me
being
out. Are you
spent for this
kidding?
Building. We're doing a
What is she
news
doing that's
story on the
threatening?
National Guard Armory.
Nothing. She
Here,
doesn't have
come
an
talk to
aggressive
these.
stance. She hasn't
So
raised
you
her
can talk to us
voice.
all at the same time.
This guy's a drama queen. She didn't take out a gun. She didn't do anything. She just asked you what you were doing.
You got here pretty fast.
Who are y'all with?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Who are y'all with? Who are y'all videoing for?
We don't answer questions. We're just taking video and. of
We don't
the
answer
facility.
questions.
This is a secure facility, so
The inside. The sign is right here where it says restricted area. That means past that secure point. This is a South Carolina National Guard Armory.
Yeah.
That means that this is owned by the state. That means that this is public property. He even admitted that the lobby and this building is publicly accessible. Do not
No,
try to
it's
take
not.
My rights, ma'am. I'm a National Guardsman myself, so I know very
If
well
he's a National
public
Guardsman,
property. have
I
no
hope
business
he's
being here.
very
I have
careful
no
what he
laws.
says,
I haven't
does,
violated any
because he can
provisions
be
of
held
the
accountable
South
for his
Carolina
actions.
Code. You have no jurisdiction to ask for my ID, ask why I'm doing here, or tell me to leave. We're just here taking photographs and videos of this fine building and the people that happen to come out and talk to us. That's the only thing we're doing. Thank you.
Okay.
What is your name, ma'am?
right here.
Is that what
Can
you
I
would
get
tell the
really
judge?
close?
What?
That your name is right here?
So we're gonna call you
What is
right
your
here.
badge number?
What if we can't read? Do you know the what is it? The Disabled Persons Act?
Yeah.
Well, listen.
What is your badge number?
Those fine men that walked out of that building behind me called me here
Okay.
Why?
because you're videoing a secure facility.
Is that against the law to video?
The video?
We've already established, and you agree, that the secureness of the building is inside of the building.
Yeah, but you do realize.
I mean, you can
Let me-
ask us questions, but I mean,
Let,
you don't
let
have to
me,
answer.
Let me give you example. I haven't asked anybody for ID, so all of that is on video. I
Well,
haven't
they
asked-
did.
Well, I didn't.
Okay. All right, that's good.
Let me give you an example. You go to the Savannah Riverside. You go within 5 miles of that place, you have a helicopter overhead.
Okay.
Okay?
They had that right.
They have that right. So they called me here.
For a constitutionally protected activity, which
you know,
ironic
it's
because
just-
they're military personnel.
Just
that's supposed
listening
protect
to what they
the
say,
Constitution. So why are they trying to
deputy's
stop
kind of
us
struggling on
from
how to say
exercising
it.
our rights?
Oh, I mean, what? What?
Are we still in America? Do we still have freedom of the press?
What organization are y'all with? You don't mind me
We're
asking.
independent journalists. We don't have to work for an organization to
Okay, so
exercise
you're
our rights.
what's it called?
Photojournalist.
What's the
He just
independent?
told you.
We're just
Independent
independent. We have freedom of the press. Anyone can work in a story.
Okay, y'all are being argumentative. I was called here. I was not.
When you say y'all,
You're the one with the gun here.
Yeah,
We
I
have
am.
cameras.
Oh,
You know,
seriously?
y'all
I
are,
have a camera too. I actually have two. There's one on my car too.
Good.
You have a gun, I have a
Good.
camera. Has she
We're
done
just
anything
working
to
on a
indicate
story.
she was
I
going to do
just
anything
always
with her
like
gun?
so you can-
No.
There's no need of you standing out in the heat.
Please inform these gentlemen over here that it is a publicly accessible area. We have the
Okay,
right to
again,
enter
a
the
public
lobby.
accessible area and a
So,
public
if you
area
take
are
pictures
two
of
different
the lobby
things.
and you post it
Public
everywhere
accessible
you go,
means that
we're
public
telling
has
stories.
access
We're
to it in
telling
certain
And we
stories.
can
conditions
only-
as long as you're
And we
conducting
can only be
business.
trespassed if we're breaking the law.
What if I'm interested in becoming a National Guard?
Then
know?
you have to set up a
That's-
time with the
that's
recruiter.
That's the first treatment we get as soon as we get here.
I'm not National Guard.
I know
We
you're
know.
a police officer, so
I'm
I'm
not
forced.
National Guard. I was doing my job. They asked me to come here because they didn't know why y'all were here.
Well, they did because we
We
told them.
told them. We told them they're just wasting taxpayers' money by calling you over here. You should be looking for a guy.
No, they're not wasting taxpayers' money. They had a legitimate complaint. There's people standing outside the building causing a commotion. And the military can't do their job because they have to now deal with you guys.
They called.
So by you asking me what am I doing, how can you figure out what I'm doing?
Because only
That
thing.
question's irrelevant. Put that
My
on-
point
put
exactly.
that on
We're
whatever you
not
want
doing
to.
anything wrong, man. We just want to take pictures.
Okay. Okay, they called me here to figure out what was going on.
They should.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know why they would call you to figure out what's
We
going
told
on.
them.
Okay.
We told them the same
Okay,
thing we
well,
told
I'm
you.
doing my job
Mhm.
because they called.
Okay.
I spoke with y'all, and I'm going to speak with them.
Okay.
That's what I do at every call.
Can I get your name
Okay?
for a record? Okay,
You
thanks.
can't do that while you're at work. You know that? We can request that.
I'm gonna FOIA your phone.
We can request that.
No, you
We can
can't.
request that.
Lieutenant Newman.
It's called a
Oh,
subpoena.
Norman.
You cannot FOIA her
If
private phone.
you're so scared, you shouldn't be in the military, dude. All right? We don't need scary
Hey,
facts.
striped shirt. Why don't you join the military, big tough guy?
Hiding in the corner.
Yeah, I see him with the PTs on.
Hey, so
Oh, don't try to hide now.
So what do you think about this move now, South Carolina?
Two calls and concerns. It's hot. Come over here.
Yes, it is.
What I heard them saying was, I don't know, they're trying to figure out if we have permission to even be in this parking lot without official business inside. the facility.
This is official business.
So that was his first question. And when I came out here, those two guys were talking about something about trespass notice and this is a public property. That's when I walked back there, and then thirdly, that lady is gonna whoop all y'all ass.
Okay, then. There ain't that much wolf in South Carolina, cuz.
If y'all didn't leave her alone, you should whoop all y'all ass.
She used to just do the right thing.
I came to save y'all, to be honest with you.
Really?
I came to save y'all.
That what that was?
You gonna whoop y'all
Why
ass.
she had the tired look on her
She
face?
was not.
He's
She had
obviously
to
a
pull
true.
my gun look on her
Right,
face. It
right.
was shoot the
She,
shit out
she was tapping the
Especially when she
taser
got
like
hit.
this.
Yeah, she was
Shades
gonna
on.
Hey,
shoot the
she was
shit out.
tapping that taser like this, like, oh,
She was gonna
okay.
shoot the shit out y'all.
Yeah.
And I was gonna see it all.
You was gonna go.
I went to court for y'all. I would have. She was gonna shoot this shit.
All right, let's see what comes of their conversation.
Deputy Morris, you have a horrible demeanor. We're asking you a question as a public service. Sir. You got a card? Let me see if I got it. Okay, I appreciate that. Oh, she's upset. I told you there was more coming. Wow. Over a what? Oh, because the Morris
She's coming back to take pictures of everybody.
So, I mean, this is not.
Okay,
We're not trying to be
this.
disturbance
It's come
or
from my
anything.
supervisor. You have been asked to leave.
By who?
You have been asked to leave
By
by me.
who?
They have
They're the
been-
maintainer of the property. They
They
haven't
haven't-
asked us to leave.
They asked you to leave.
Okay, there's a difference between asking to leave and demanding to leave. Are they
Okay.
demanding that we leave?
then we'll get them to demand you guys to leave, right?
So now you're
Also,
forcing
you're
their hand.
soliciting a trespass.
Forcing their hand. It's a semantics of language, guys.
If they ask you to leave, you have to.
If they ask you to leave, you have to leave. It's not a.
She just admitted that it belongs to the state, so how can it be private? Right. That's all it is.
These guys don't care about the Constitution. They just bend it for them to get little clicks and likes and have their 15 minutes of YouTube fame.
Look at her. She's in there soliciting a trespass.
Not soliciting. She's asking, what do you want to do? They're saying you asked them, do you want them to leave? If you do, you have to tell them to leave. It's very simple. It's language of the law. So, because that's what these auditors, quote unquote, are doing. They're bending the language of the law. Well, they asked me. They didn't tell me. All right, fine. Let's clarify that with the National Guard. Do you want them to leave or are you asking to leave? If you want them to leave, you have to tell them they have to leave. Pretty plain and simple.
Lawyer is telling you're being disorderly. Thank you very much. So get your hand up here. What's wrong with you?
Okay, so these guys need to really tone it down. They're getting
Oh, that's fine.
aggressive.
For guys with cameras.
Oh, now you're upset. You're pacing back and forth. Is your ego hurt?
That's insane.
I believe it. You don't have balls either. That's why you have a bad one and you're not supporting the United States Constitution.
Y'all have been asked to leave.
Until he tells me to leave because
He's
he's
already
the,
said that
he
he's
didn't
asked
tell
you
me.
to leave.
I can roll the footage back. I've got
Roll the footage
17
back.
minutes. I don't have to because I was standing.
You just said I can roll the footage back. I don't have
Not
to.
go in that building. That building is not public.
Hold on. Okay.
Oh my God, in
Hold
what country?
on.
Are we still in
Hold
America?
on.
It's publicly owned. When they ask you to leave. This is a secured
Oh, yeah,
facility.
So now it's publicly
we
owned.
own it, but we can't go in it. Oh,
Correct.
Great.
Okay.
Just like you can't go in our building without permission.
Yes,
Why
we
can't I?
can. Since
We
when?
got a
You can go in the lobby.
And that's what
You
And that's the lobby.
That's exactly where we're going.
Have you
That's
lost your
your
mind?
spirit.
That's the
Okay.
lobby.
Look in the window.
You don't have a gate in your office either. You
Yes,
got
we do.
doors. You're
Yes,
not
we do.
outside.
It's a door. It's a
All right,
Very rational.
this is getting way out of hand.
You
These
said-
officers
so
need to
this
take
is not
control of
allowed.
this.
So is this not a portal?
They're not. She doesn't need to be arguing. And right now, she needs to take control of the situation. So what she needs to do is say, "Gentlemen, you've been advised to leave the property. If you refuse to leave the property, you will be arrested."
Not
Okay.
allowed in this building.
Ma'am, lawyer.
You
Okay.
have to leave. No, because you've been loud with me. Now it's my turn to talk.
I don't have to listen to
Okay.
Hey, young lady,
Okay, well, you have to
have a
leave.
level of professionalism that you have to uphold.
Hey, stop.
Okay, well, I was professional over there.
you stop.
I've asked you
No,
to
you
leave.
stop.
Professional.
Okay.
You're not honoring
Okay.
your oath.
She said that we're not allowed to go inside. She said it 12 times.
freedom
We
of the
can't go in
press.
this building because it's private, as she said.
Freedom of
So
the
there has
It's secured. It's,
Okay.
it's secured.
Absolutely. Is
If
the
you
door
want
locked?
to go
Can I
in there,
just
you
open
need
the
to
door and
talk
go
to the
in?
public
I can't just
information
walk in.
officer.
It's secure.
So that means you can't go in.
Okay,
we're not
so
inside.
we're not
It's not a
inside.
lobby.
We're outside.
inside.
So
So
we're
we're
already
already
left if we're not inside.
No, you have to get off the
Oh,
property.
so now you're telling me that I have to get off of the entire property.
If you would listen to me the first time, I told you the property is at the road.
Why is it so hard to honor the oath you swore to protect? Freedom of the press, publicly accessible areas.
This is
We're
not.
working on
Okay, it's okay. I'm just gonna go to the public easement because there's no sidewalk. I can stand there all day, correct?
Yeah, you can. Absolutely.
So you might want to inform them that when they see us on the edge of the road on what they call their property, that we have every right to be so. Just like I have every right to be here, and you're telling me to leave.
All right, gentlemen, you need to leave. Okay, this is getting way out of
This
hand.
building and property is
Oh, now it's the building and the property.
No, I'm just asking the private. I don't know. I get this
This
security.
is
This is law.
alright.
I understand that. You do know they're lying, and he's a National Guard person too, right?
So
he
what?
knows the fucking rules. He like.
Well, obviously he does.
Yes, he
Obviously
does.
he does.
If they go look at the property manual, they would know it too. But apparently the security
The what
officer
manual?
is not
The
here to
property
ask.
manual?
So that's what the problem is.
Okay, well,
None of these
Gentlemen,
guys have the authority
okay,
to say
these
anything.
deputies really need to take
Security
control of the
officers
situation.
don't. That's not
They're
them.
way off
It's
the.
not their property. That's what
They
you don't
asked you to leave.
understand.
They are in control of the property.
Okay, well I tell you
They
what,
are in
I'm gonna
control
show
of
you
the
my ID, and I'm a National Guardsman, and I'm not leaving the property because I have every right to do so.
No, you don't. If it's not your unit, you don't have a right to be there.
You have to be in uniform?
Neither
You
was I.
wasn't in
I
uniform.
just
I don't have authority
They're
to
not
tell
in
you to
uniform.
leave, but I'm not in uniform.
You just said you don't have the authority to leave, so why are you telling me to leave?
I don't have the authority to tell you to leave, but I'm not.
All right, this is way out of hand. Okay, these deputies have lost control of the situation. They're letting these other people control the situation.
So if you do not leave,
We're going to
you
jail
are
for
going to
trespass.
jail. Yes,
For
you are.
trespass.
Yes, you are.
All right. So let's go. So this
They
is
ain't
private.
gonna ask you to leave.
I get this is
This
secure.
is a secure
We're talking in
building
circles.
in
I get
property.
it secure. Is this property private? That's all I want to know.
But why does the
This
sign?
property is owned by the federal government.
Who the federal government get their tax money from?
Doesn't matter. You don't have unfettered access to all the properties and buildings. Try walking into the White House, see what happens.
South Carolina State.
We're gonna
First
leave.
of all,
Okay,
that's where you're
we're gonna leave.
Right, so
But
South Carolina
this is my
owns this
stuff.
property,
Sir.
not the federal government. South
Hey,
Carolina,
they
there's a
will
difference.
leave.
Well, they're fucking wrong.
We're gonna go.
All right, you all need to
And if
leave.
you go around back and look at the fence,
You
it
need to
clearly
leave.
says restricted
Very
area
simple.
Beyond this point, which means anything that is secure that I can't freaking walk.
Okay. This guy is just driving me crazy because these deputies, and I hate the Monday morning quarterback, but as a law enforcement officer, things are getting out of hand, okay? These guys are upset. They feel like their rights are being violated. The deputies are feeling like, they can only push so far before, something happens. They're afraid of a lawsuit, whatever. But at the directive of the people who are in control of that property, i.e. the National Guard, have determined that, one, these people cannot have access to the building. It's a secure facility, okay? It's been shown that you have to key in and key out. Two, and that's how it was when I was in the National Guard. You had to have keys to get into the Armory. It wasn't just anybody could walk in. We didn't have recruiters at our Armory. Nobody could walk in. It's a secure facility. It's a military building. We had aircraft. We had weapons. You could not go in there. Unless you make pre-arrangements. It's not that hard. These guys would have said, "Hey, can I talk to your PIO? And can I get access to the building to do a news story?" And they would have made arrangements for you. These guys didn't do that. All they're looking for is what's going on right now. Total chaos. Okay? Very simple. These guys are interfering with the business of the National Guard. How are they interfering? Well, they're pulling the guardsmen away from their duties to handle and address the situation. It has become now an issue of disorderly conduct, okay? Granted, it probably blew up way out of proportion, but the deputies at this point in time have been told by the guardsmen, whoever's in control, the senior leader in the facility at the time, who is in command of the facility during those hours when, in the absence of the company commander, battalion commander, whomever, that you need to leave. Okay? You're not doing anything that's business related or guard related. You need to leave. If they want to film, they can go to the easement where, like they said, and they can film there. Okay? All they're doing right now is creating a disturbance. Okay? Now, obviously, the police cannot file disturbance of the peace or disorderly conduct because, state law, federal law says that police have the expectation of, not being disturbed in the course of their duties, but the public and other private citizens or even military, because they're not law enforcement officers, can feel that there's a disturbance of the peace or, interference with their duties. So let's see what happens.
Into is secure. So that means I can't go into the building.
To leave the property, you need to leave the property.
Okay, it's secure. You don't have access to this building. It's not your armory. Okay, just because you're in the guard doesn't mean you have access to every freaking building. When I was at Fort Bragg, I didn't have access to JSOC, or other places where I didn't have any reason to be there. Okay, yeah, I could take pictures of the outside of, the Special Warfare Center and stuff like that, but, you can't just walk in and go, hey, I want to take pictures. It's not how it works, people. Not how it works.
Lanes on all of you. They
You're not honoring
but this property isn't private. This is public property.
It is not
All of
public.
them. That's why it takes 2 years. That's why it takes 2 years to
This is
become
who
a
you guys
barber.
should be,
and
right
6
here,
months to
because
become a
you guys-
officer.
I
I
gotta
gotta
go.
shit.
Leave the property,
We're
then
leaving.
y'all.
Let's go.
All right, they just want you off the property, so let's go.
So I'm gonna be arrested.
2 years to be a barber and 6 months to be a cop. Well, I don't think you go to barber schools 5 days a week, 10 hours a day for 2 years. Maybe you do, I don't know.
If I don't leave this property, and I can show you that I'm military personnel, you're telling me I'm gonna be arrested for trespassing?
Yes.
They do not want
And then you could also be subject to the UCMJ for failure to fail directives by senior enlisted NCO or officer.
All we're doing is asking
No,
you to leave.
we're gonna get
That's how it works.
I don't think they know his status.
I
I don't care. All I know is what they want you off the property. That's all I know. Okay? They just don't know his status.
It doesn't matter what his status is. Just because you're in the National Guard does not give you free reign into any military facility. And it actually puts him into a really awkward position because he can be charged civilly and he can be charged federally. Okay?
It has nothing to do with who you are. She said that this is federal property, which is state property. Then
It's
she said-
federally got.
It's not. If it's federal property, it's publicly
I
funded.
didn't get a check. Okay.
It's publicly
So I can
funded.
see.
All right, deputies, you got to take control of the situation. This is getting way out of hand. Too much
It
time.
doesn't matter. They want you off
But
the
they
property.
don't own this property.
They are in control of this
But they
building.
don't own it.
They're not
They are
in control of it.
this building.
The security
They're responsible
officer
for
is.
it.
You need to go speak to the security officer.
They're in control of this building.
Can y'all call y'all supervisor?
Already
We already did.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Call your supervisor. They're going to tell you the same thing. Get off the property.
Okay, he's already
Okay?
Okay.
See,
I'll
by doing this,
If he says so, and
I
he
mean, we have the right to
listens-
speak to a supervisor, right?
no, you don't have a right to speak to a supervisor. Show me a rule or regulation that says you have to speak to a supervisor. If there isn't one available, what are you going to do? Stand there all day until one's available? No.
Speak here. I can't pray.
You never said that one bit.
You can pray.
It's all a constitutionally First Amendment protected activity.
What has praying got to do with you trespassing, or at this point in time, trespassing, because you've been ordered to leave the property? The deputies have lost control of this situation. They need to take control of the situation.
Okay, I'm military.
It does not
I'm
matter.
telling you.
It does
And
not
if you
matter.
speak to the security officer, what's the sergeant's name that was out here first?
It doesn't matter, security officer.
Said that the security officer is not here. That's who he said that he was waiting to talk to because he made
I don't
sure
care
he
about the chain of command in this building. I know the person who's in charge of this property right now.
That's the
wants
security
you off.
officer.
Whoever's
There's
in
no
charge
one
of
in
the
charge of the building
Okay,
right now.
see,
They're not
there-
the security officers. That's not their job. You can't delegate duties to someone that can't.
Yes, Army's all about delegation there, troop. I don't know what military you belong to, but there's a chain of command. In the absence of a company commander or the first sergeant, it goes to the next ranking NCO or officer, whoever's on the property or in the area. That's how it works.
I understand it's hot and you have on all of these gear.
All right? So these guys need to move along. These deputies are letting them control the situation instead of the other way around.
Explanatory.
Of course, man, because they're kicking us out of here for no reason.
They're kicking you out because you're not needed there. It's not. You took pictures out. It's a little frustrating at times when you listen to this because it's just circling and circling and circling. This is how you do it,
I'm not racist.
gentlemen.
What does that mean?
First you make fun of his accent, and then you say I'm not racist, I'm white.
That's why he's white. I did not make fun of his accent.
And then you assume
We heard you.
And then you assume my race.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
Then you say I'm white. I'm not white.
Well,
I guess
apologize.
next I'm
You're
Cambodian.
Caucasian. You have white
See,
skin.
the deputy just got baited into that because she's lost control of the
This
scene.
is amazing.
Ridiculousness.
We'll leave, but we want to speak to supervisor.
He's on the way.
You know?
I feel like this is dumb and dumber. I don't understand.
No, it's just go.
No, now they no. You know what's
I wonder,
crazy?
can I tell you something?
No.
Off record.
We have cameras of mass destruction. I know, but we're not doing anything bad. We're not the police
Hey,
here.
we're not saying you did anything bad. They asked you to leave. They gave you a phone call.
Speaking of alcohol, I don't know why you guys are here. From my
We literally just want pictures of that there, the flags in the building because it's natural. We had no intention of going inside.
Okay, but then can you get your pictures?
We tried. So with that being said, I'm glad you said that. Why are they telling us that we have to
Well,
leave because it's private? Because it's private.
Here's what I'm being.
Because we can't photograph private property. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Here's what I'm being told. You are allowed to take photos from a public thoroughfare. Okay, this is, from what I'm being told, is private property. The representative of the property has asked you to leave. So
How is it private?
I'm asking you to take your pictures from the public thoroughfare out there next to the road. As long as you're not in the roadway, I can't do anything to you. All right, so I'm asking that you guys just go out to the road, do what you need to do, and we can all go about our business.
Can we get the name of the owner?
The owner is the state of South Carolina. It's
Oh, so
my
that means-
understanding the South Carolina National Guard.
So that means that it's public.
So I'm not going to stand here and dispute this.
No,
okay?
I'm not asking for argument.
You're fine.
I just wanted clarity.
That's fine. But just so you know, we have a very huge audience. Okay, we're not just some random guys with cameras.
I don't care what the size of your audience
You guys
is.
are gonna be very sad tomorrow about not making the right decision.
Oh, they're going to be sad. I don't think they're going to lose 1 ounce of sleep over it.
Tyrant egomaniac.
Tyrant. He's a tyrant. Let me ask you one last question. How many
Okay,
bad
see
cops have you
again,
arrested?
they lost control of the scene, and this is just dragging on.
How many bad
The
cops have you
expectation was
arrested,
laid down. Follow the expectation if you don't suffer the consequences. The representative of the National Guard Armory has told these people that they need to leave the facility. Okay, the facility is the building and the grounds. If they don't leave the grounds, then they can be arrested for trespassing.
First Amendment right, and we have all the right to be upset. We're gonna leave because we don't want to go to jail, but that's a violation of our First Amendment.
It's not a violation of your First Amendment. They're not saying you can't film. They just said you have to go do it from the public easement. Okay? Nobody says you can't film. Not once did anybody say you can't film. All right? Get out. That's plain and simple.
If we were doing something wrong, we wouldn't have parked here. Are we gonna be followed, sir, after we leave from here?
I'm not going to follow you. You guys are free to go and do what you need to do.
What you need to realize is they said that whether it's the federal government or the state government,
It's a military installation. I'm asking you guys to leave.
Still doesn't mean that it's private though.
Contact the National Guard.
See, they just keep going.
I'm also self-employed. Have a nice day, sir. Yeah.
'Cause all these guys got to go. See, these
Hit the
officers
start button.
lost control of the situation. It could have been over a lot earlier. A lot of the heartbreak could have been done. See, that's what auditors do. That's all they're doing, is trying to provoke reaction. Again, this is a federally, yes, it says National Guard, which is budgeted and owned by the state, but it falls under federal guidelines. Okay? In a time of war or national emergency, they can be federalized. Okay? The National Guard follows the same laws as the Army Reserves and the full-time active duty. The Uniform Code of Military Justice. And with that are directives for security of a facility and property. Okay? If they did not want you in the building without identification and previous arrangements, they don't have to let you in. Okay? This all snowballed because there wasn't a clear directive from the military. There wasn't a clear directive from the officers. The officers should not have engaged in an argument. They should have just laid out the expectations. The National Guard has said you cannot be here. You need to leave the property. If you want to film, you got to do it from a public access easement. Okay? You cannot be on military installation property. Plain and simple. But they allowed it to get out of hand. So there you go, guys. That is this one. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We hope to talk to you soon. Until the next one, this is Stop the BS Auditors.